In the world of e-waste scrapping, nothing is more important than understanding how to grade the boards that you have. This time on Shark Scrapper, we dive into TELCOM boards, high grade versus low grade. Hey everybody, Shark Scrapper, and welcome to this discussion of TELCOM boards. Low, high, and, well, higher. Now, obviously, the first thing that needs to happen for it to be a TELCOM board is that it needs to come from a high-end telecom device. Well, kinda, sorta. That's usually where they come from. And the category is called telecom just to be able to have a common reference. You will occasionally find boards that would be classified as telecom that didn't come from a telecom device, but yeah, for the most part, they're coming out of high-end telecom devices like what we have here. Now, some of the key giveaways are the number of ports that you see located on here, the fact that they are slip-ins, the fact that this device itself is a higher-end telecom component. It is very unlikely that if this is the way the component was purchased, it's going to contain a telecom board. Another dead giveaway is how many ports are on the back. If it's got 4 or less ports, chances are it's not going to be a telecom board. So let's dive in, take a look at these boards, and learn more about how to differentiate between the various grades of telecom boards. Now, to make this a little easier to work with, I put it on the genie lift, lifted it up a bit, just because we're going to be pulling boards here, so we ought to just make it as easy as we possibly can on ourselves. All right, so we have a little plate in the way there. So this board is interesting because you've got a lot of obvious visible gold. You have some nice components on it. I'm sure there's going to be a nice component underneath of that heatsink. And not much on the back side. It's got gold Enig across each side of it here, plus all the gold connector pins inside here. So this is a really clear case of a telecom low-grade board. Nice heavy-duty board, nice components, but it's just not very densely populated. This board, once we take off this hard drive, and it's screwed on, so we'll have to unscrew it, really doesn't have much in the way of components. It's got some tiny ICs and tantalums, more circuits and tantalums over here, but you know, really there isn't much on this board. So this isn't even a telecom board. I mean, it came out of a telecom device, but it's not really a telecom grade board. This is going to go in with my peripherals. Come on, there we go. Yeah, so you look at this board and you say it came out of a telecom device, it's got gold, but other than a couple of ICs and nothing on the back, there really isn't much of anything here that's of any great value. So this would be peripheral low grade at best. This one has two nice big mux looking connectors. Let's see, what do we get out of this? Well, now this gets a little more interesting, but not really. These aren't really ICs. These are definitely not ICs here. So, yeah, it came out of a high-end telecom device, but that's not a telecom board. That's going to be a peripheral board. All right, at first glance, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, what's going on here? But you look at these labels, and this is triple DS3, DS1, Ethernet or Ethernet, dual system processors, switch fabric. So there might be some opportunity here. So we're just going to work our way across, see what we come up with here. Oh yeah. So that's the kind of board that we're looking for telecom. All right. You've got How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 gold cornered BGAs on here, plus a number of other circuits. Very densely populated. If you look at this board, you probably, if you did the measurements, I bet you that most of the surface area on this board is being covered by circuits of some sort. Very little open board area. Lots of visible gold all over this board. Even this daughter card is densely populated with components. And look at the back. The back is also very densely populated with a lot of tantalums. You may not be able to see it, but there's a lot of very small ICs on here as well. So this is a very classic example, a great example of a high-grade telecom board. Maybe even pushing into that little bit better than high grade. So once I take off this bracket here, most of this board is just densely populated circuit board, and even the junk, the quote-unquote junk over here, these are all going to be gold-plated pins. So this is definitely going to be a high grade, and once the folks at boardsort.com take a look at it, they might bump it up a little bit, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, to a high grade plus category. So high grade telecom board, no question. Wow, another nice, very nice board here. We've got a RAM stick in here, battery that needs to come out, 1, 2 gold corner BGAs, a number of flat pack IC kind of things. Oh, here's another RAM stick, a bunch of tantalum all over the place, lots of ICs. On the back side, we also have lots of ICs and big chunky tantalum. So this would be another high grade telecom board. Probably not going to go into the category of high grade plus, but definitely a high grade board. Now we're going to take off the RAM and sell that with our RAM. And we'll look and see if there's a market for this outside of just scrap value. Probably not, but we'll see. So, yep, nice high grade telecom board here. I just noticed it. These are heat sinks. Very interesting looking heat sinks, but you definitely want to take those heat sinks off, as well as that battery and the RAM. And of course the bracket. Well, now, isn't this interesting? Let's see, this side, the back side is well populated, nice ICs down here, a bunch of tantalums all over the place. But what's really interesting is this side of the board. But it's hard to judge just by looking at, I'm guessing high grade telecom, but I won't know for sure until I get this daughter card off of here. So let's go take care of that real quick. So here's this board that we were looking at. We're going to get these screws out of here. Now, because this was some high grade stuff, I want to look and see. Nah, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, no. I was thinking it might be stainless steel hardware, but it's not. All right, so that daughter card is extremely well populated, very dense. You can see we've got some nice big ICs, bunch of BGAs, very dense, even a couple of little gold corner BGAs, very dense for the size of this board. So this could go in with your telecom high grades. The back is also relatively well populated with ICs and tantalums and such. So that part is definitely going to go in with the telecom high grade. And then this board itself, even underneath of that daughter card, we had more flat BGAs actually, and some gold corner BGAs and some more ICs. Again, nicely packed here, nice dense population of circuitry, So this will go into the TELCOM high grade. We're going to get this heatsink off of here, and of course the bracket needs to come off. And we'll get these risers off because that's just dead weight. So the other thing that you want to remove, these posts here, that's a guide post for when the board slots in to make sure that it lines up. That's going to be pot metal or cast aluminum. Again, it's dead weight, so you want to get rid of that. And another one of those. And another one of those. Those are the screws for that heatsink. So, let's see if I can just keep that nut from spinning with my finger. Yep, there we go. Wow, look at that. Hiding underneath of that heatsink was a ceramic CPU. Man, if there was any question at all that this was a high-grade TELCOM board, it's been answered. And this might even push it into that high-grade plus category when BoardSort takes a look at it. When you hear me refer to TELCOM Plus, what I mean is the category on BoardSort.com that is shown as gold cap and gold edge and CNC boards. Now, these are really specific boards. The one that we have here fits this category. The gold edge is actually part of the grounding plane for the board. The boards are very high end, and they may or may not have gold cap processors on them. That's why I just refer to them as TELCOM Plus, because there's a couple things that can put it there. And you absolutely don't want any junk on the board in order to get into that category, all right? So no toroids, no brackets, nothing. But it's definitely worth it. One of the advantages of doing business with a company like BoardSort, and I can only speak for BoardSort because they're the only company I work with that does this right now, is that they're happy to upgrade even their highest grade stuff for really nice boards. So a little bit of upgrade there because they know they're going to get the value out of it, and that's their way of taking care of all of us. We're going to get this bracket off of here real quick. There we go. That bracket is aluminum, so we'll chuck that in with the aluminum. We'll pop off the rest of the ferrous metal bracket screws and posts and put that in with our, I think, extruded. Yeah, that's going to go in with the extruded aluminum once I get it cleaned up. And let's see, if these screws come off real easy, we'll get the rest of this cleaned up here. These boards are getting you very high value, so anything you can do to clean them up is the right thing to do. Now, to be clear, when I say clean them up, I mean taking off dead weight junk. Don't depopulate any of those chips. No? Wait a minute. That's aluminum. So that'll go in with my cast aluminum. I thought they were plastic for a minute. Now, if you look at this board, you notice that there are no big chunky heat sinks on here anywhere. The metal, the ferrous junk metal, has been removed for the most part. Let's get this one off of here if we can. All right, so we have removed all of the extraneous ferrous dead weight off of this. This board is now a nice, clean, high-grade TELCOM, and when BoardSort looks at it and they see that, they might upgrade this to TELCOM Plus. And then what will happen is I'll get an email from Chris, and he'll say, I've gone through that box that you sent, and I've made the following adjustments. All right, good board. All right, let's get back over to that device and see what else we have. All righty now. Well, this presents an interesting situation. We've got to figure out what in the world this thing is. Oh, that's a power module. Okay, so that's going to need to come off. Power module, it's going to have low-grade components. That's got to come off of this board. But other than that and that heatsink and the bracket, this is a pretty nice board. I would say that this will go with TELCOM high grade once I take off this, and this. It's kinda in that little crossover area, but pretty well densely populated. Nice board. So yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable putting this in with the TELCOM high grade once I remove this, and of course the bracket. And it looks like we got a number of those kind of boards here. Let's see, what are you? All right, so this board's a little different. So on this board, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gold corner BGAs. We have nicely populated daughter cards, a bunch of ICs and BGAs and tantalums all throughout this. So I'm going to remove that daughter card. There's lots more components underneath of it, and this will go as a TELCOM high grade board. I'm very comfortable with that. We'll remove the bracket, of course, and the screws from the daughter card risers, but yeah, this is going to be a TELCOM high grade. We've already talked about this board. We need to remove that, and that. And we saw one of these already. Same. And the same. Now, some of you are probably thinking to yourself, could I sell these boards on the open market? Well, there might be market value for them. I'll take a look and see if there's any obvious opportunities to sell them. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Let's go take a look at this over on the table. Now, my suspicion is that these are going to be nice BGAs hiding underneath of the heat sinks. So let's just start popping a couple off. If you're worried about the BGAs coming off, you can take a heat source, give them a little hit with the heat source. That'll loosen up the glue or the paste. It's pretty warm in here already, so I may not need to do that. All right, so yeah, we got a nice BGA hiding underneath here. Take the heat sinks off, of course. That's a big thing with the TELCOM boards. No heat sinks, no transformers or motors of any sort. That will automatically downgrade a high-grade TELCOM to a low-grade TELCOM, and possibly even to a peripheral if you leave all that junk hanging on there. It's so warm in here right now, I don't need to heat these guys up. All right, look at that. So these are called Centillium processors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, 8 of those and 2 X-Links. So again, very densely populated board. We're going to take off that heatsink there. And let's see here. I think my finger will hold that like it did the last one. Yeah, we got that heatsink off of there. And again, there's a nice ceramic hiding underneath of that one, so that's nice. Tabs off of here. Sometimes these tabs are easier to take off than others. If you can take them off, by all means do, especially on a board of this nature, because as we discussed earlier, when you have a board like this, Board Sort may very well upgrade this to a TELCOM High Grade Plus, which would be very nice. Oh yeah, we've seen that one before. That's definitely high grade, maybe a high grade plus, but definitely TELCOM high grade once we take off this bracket. Wow, this one, we've looked at one very similar, I think almost identical. We've got the 2 RAM sticks, we've got the CMOS battery, we've got some heat sinks. Those all need to come off. And then this is probably going to be a TELCOM high grade after we get all of that stuff off of there. I want to show you something here underneath of the RAM. Get this RAM out of the way. There's still plenty of stuff underneath of that RAM stick. So definitely TELCOM, probably TELCOM high. So after we get the RAM sticks out of the way, you can see that there was still plenty of good components underneath of those RAM sticks. So we'll get this battery off, we'll get these heat sinks off, put this in with our TELCOM high grades. And we did a board like this already. This daughter card is TELCOM high grade on its own, and there were all kinds of components underneath of it. I will remove all of this ferrous stuff, this heat sink, to have no doubt at all that this is TELCOM high grade. Oh, and this guide pin. All right, these are just blanks, but this one is a board. And this is another one of the boards with the heat sinks covering those nice big BGAs. So something I want to point out, this was a Lucent Technologies Telica. You're not going to find this device at Best Buy or Office Depot or any of the big box stores. This is the kind of thing that you're buying from the Lucent dealer, from a specialty networking company. And when you see these kind of devices, it suggests that there's going to be TELCOM low, TELCOM high plus, because this is a very high-end machine. This cost a lot of money when it was new and put into operation. The stuff that you get from the big box stores, you kind of say to yourself, well, it's telecom, right? Telecommunications. It's, you know, my router at my house. It's not the quality. It doesn't have the content of good quality components, or the board itself is not populated with the right kind of layers, so it's a lower grade. Now, it still might be a very good high grade peripheral, but unless it's coming from a good high-end device like this, it's not going to be a telecom board. A lot of times what can help tell the story is a visual comparison. Now, we very clearly said that this board was a telecom high grade board because of its very dense population of high-end gold corner BGA type circuits. So let's compare this to some other boards that have come out of some higher end telecom devices. This board came out of a 3-com switch probably, and you look at it and you say, well, I don't know, there's a bunch of ICs and there's a bunch of flat packs, but you've definitely got more board visible than you have chips. So this would probably go into your telecom low grade, just because it's not as densely populated as this very clearly is. All right, now with this, right, it clearly came out of a switch router type device here, but look at this. Those are not ICs. And what ICs you have are just right over here in the corner. you've got a bunch of junk hanging on this. So, and it's okay to have the metal casings around the connectors, but you don't want a bunch of other metal hanging on here. There just isn't anything on this board, even though it came out of what might be considered a high-grade telecom device. There's just nothing here to make this a telecom grade board. So this will go in with the peripheral high-grade boards. Okay, now let's look at this board from a Cisco device. Cisco's good quality device, no question about that. But you look at this and you can very clearly see there's a lot of board that's showing around the components that are on the board. There's some good components here, right? BGA, gold cornered BGA, some flatback ICs, some tantalums, gold edge crystal oscillator. No doubt that this is a high quality board, telecom, but it's going to be a telecom low because the density of those components is just nothing compared to what we've seen over here. All right, so here is another example of a nice, good quality device. It used to have some of the older style click-in RAM over here. You had 1, 2, 3 gold cornered BGAs. You've got a bunch of other BGAs and flat packs and ICs scattered all around. If we look at the back, nothing there to speak of other than nice gold-plated pins. So, yes, telecom device. Very clearly a nice quality board, telecom device type board, but are these components as densely populated as what you see over here? No. And to make it even worse, there are toroids on that lower right corner. When I compare the two, my immediate reaction is to say this is a telecom low-grade board. But if I remove those toroids, I would be more comfortable putting it in with the telecom high-grade. I would put these in the box, probably at the top of the box, knowing that when the board sort people go in and look at these, they will say, yeah, no, we're going to put that with low-grade. They're not going to dock you, they're not going to write you a nasty letter or anything like that, because they're going to recognize that, yeah, that's kind of a borderline, and you had a whole bunch of other high grades. So they might throw it in with the high grades, they might take it out and weigh them separately. When they're kind of on this edge like this, don't hide it, put in what you think it is, your best estimate, and you know, they'll check it. It's the same way with a telecom high grade board that might be worth more, a telecom high grade plus, and they call those things gold edged and CNC boards and such. You'll see that on there. They'll make that call when they look at these, and again, they'll send you an email and they'll say we've adjusted your sale, and they'll tell you what they've done. They understand, they get it, they know that this is not science. You could not put this in a device and it would scan it and would say, telecom high. There's a certain amount of judgment going on in this. Sometimes it's very clear, right? We saw this, very clear, telecom low. There's just, the population isn't there. But sometimes it's not as clear. And so we rely on the experience of the folks at BoardSort to clarify anything that we thought was borderline. They get it, they're good with that, they're fine with doing that. You give it your best shot and they'll clean up any little mix-ups in the middle. Remember, if you're trying to sell your boards as functional components, then you have to know a lot more about the board than to just say it's telecom high or low. You need to understand the component came from, what it was doing, part numbers, designators. If you have a way to test them, great. If you don't, then you sell it as untested. Yes, you'll make more money if you can sell it that way, but how easy it's going to be to sell is kind of up in the air. If you're selling your boards as scrap, then it becomes a question of the sophistication of the person or company that you're selling to. BoardSort.com is probably the most sophisticated e-waste buyer in the United States. They have a lot of categories for boards, and sometimes that can cause some angst for those of you like myself that are kind of, oh, I want to make sure I get this right. Hey, BoardSort gets it. They know you're doing the best you can, and they accept the fact that sometimes you're going to get it right, sometimes you're going to make mistakes. They will be happy to let you know. They'll upgrade the boards, they'll downgrade the boards, they'll send you an email to let you know what they've done. It's not the end of the world if you make a mistake shipping stuff off to BoardSort. So just relax, try to identify them the best you can based on the experience that you have, what you've learned from videos like mine, and from forums like the BoardSort Identification Forum. This has been a very fun journey into TELCOM boards, low, high, and high plus, the various categories of the things that are better than a TELCOM high grade board. I hope you've learned a lot. Feel free to take a look at the other videos that I have on board identification. There's going to be a link popping up here that will take you to that playlist so that you can see all of the different kinds of boards that I have helped to come up with identification tricks and schemes and processes so that you can be a better scrapper and make the most money possible from your e-waste. Have a great day, everybody.